الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز صدق الله مولانا العظيم. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم القبر روضة من رياض الجنة أو حفر من حفر النار أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Respected elders, brothers in Islam, when we enter into this world, there are various possibilities and probabilities that may occur. A person may get married, he may not. We do not know at the time of entry. Where will a person live? What will be the extent to which a person will earn? Whether a person will get married, whether he will have children. All of these things which are attached to a person's life remain mere possibilities or probabilities at the time of entering to this world. But there's one thing that remains certain. For every person that enters into this world is that you will have to depart from this world. At some stage, whether it is immediately or at a later stage, 50 years or 60 years, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أَعْمَارُ أُمَّتِي. The average age of my ummah is بين 60 و70 سنة, between 60 and 70 years. So the reality is that one will have to depart from this world. And when a person leaves this world, إذا مات ابن آدم انقطع عمله, then your actions terminate. All actions that a person did, especially in terms of belief, and in terms of disbelief, that terminates. That one cannot change whether a person's book had been sealed as a disbeliever. There's no changing of that. If a person's book has been sealed off as a believer, that is how it is sealed off. So in terms of belief and disbelief, the book of deeds is sealed off at death. But that is not where it ends off in terms of our actions. In terms of our actions, we can continue to benefit after we've left from this world. And those that we leave behind, those who have been survived, they can continue to benefit the marhumeen in different ways. And the reason why I speak about this, last year in our very community, we lost a young Hafiz who very tragically had lost his life in an accident. Also at the radio station, a young Mulana who had passed away. And myself, in the last month of the year, I also lost my beloved father. And once you're in a situation yourself, then you look at things differently. Once you've lost a person, and everyone in this masjid would have either lost perhaps a parent, or both your parents, a sibling, or even your own children, and there can be nothing more difficult than that. Does our relationship with our marhumeen end at their death? That is not the case. We still have a relationship with them after they've left this world. And we can continue to benefit them, and there are ways in which we can benefit from what we do for them. And today I'd like to mention 5 ways in which we can benefit our marhumeen. The first and foremost is through the fact that we make dua for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, والذين جاءوا من بعدهم يقولون ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان. Allah speaks about the favorable believers, and He says there are those who come later on and they say, oh Allah, forgive those who were before us. They don't speak bad about them. They do not critique them or find fault. So if you hear someone is passed on, then you want to say, you think he was like that? Let me tell you about him. They're the ones who say, oh Allah, forgive them, overlook their sins, overlook their shortcomings. Everyone has shortcomings. they are the true servants of Allah. We tend to end our dua at the janazah. Yes, the janazah is a means of making dua. And the Messenger ﷺ said that إِذَا صَلَّيْتُمْ عَلَى الْمَيِّتِ فَأَخْلِصُوا الدُّعَى, that when you perform the janazah salah for the marhumin, then be sincere in your dua at that time. Make a genuine dua for the person. When you go to the janazah, it's not only about showing face, or that I need to show this person that I was there, or he'll be looking to see whether I was there, so that's why I need to go there. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, أَخْلِصِ الدُّعَى, make sincere dua for the marhum. And if you do that, that will benefit the marhum. There is a person, a pious person from the past, whose name was Bashar bin Gharib. And he says, I used to make dua for Rabia al-Basriya radiyallahu ta'ala very frequently. Kuntu kathira dua laha. I used to make a lot of dua for her. And one day I saw in a dream that she came to me and she said to me, your gifts to me is being presented in a platter of a golden platter surrounded by noor and light, covered by different types of silk. And I asked, what is that? And he said that this is the dua that you make for me, that is presented for me in this way. So the du'as that you make for the marhumin, it is presented to them and say, this is the dua that so and so, whether it is the son, whether it is the father, whether it is the wife or the husband, this is the dua that so and so has made for you. And the most beautiful part about making dua for someone else is, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you make dua for someone else, and that person do not know that you're making dua for that person, there's an angel that is deputed that after you've completed the dua says, وَلَكَ بِمِثْلٍ, may Allah grant you the same. What a bargain. That you make dua for someone else to be, their sins to be forgiven. You make dua for someone else's position to be elevated. You make dua for someone's worldly need. And whatever you're making dua for that person, automatically the angel is making dua for you, that be granted to you. So let us not lose out on the first point, and that is making dua for the marhumin, whoever our marhumin are. The second is, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that once a person leaves this world, one thing that benefits this person, inna mimma yalhaqul rajul al-mu'min ba'da mawtihi min amalihi, that which will benefit a person is ilmun nasharahu, that knowledge that you may have spread. If you are the means of someone learning something, or you are the means of someone practicing on a particular action, then you will continue to gain the reward of that until the day of Qiyamah. By the opposite end, if you are the means of someone doing an evil deed, man sanna fil Islam is sunnatan hasana, whoever starts off something good will always get the reward, and whoever starts off something evil will also get the sin. Whenever in this world someone kills another person, Qabil, the son of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, was the first person to kill, he gets a share of that reward, that sin. So when you start off something good, then that becomes a means of continuous reward. And for us, when we talk about our children and leaving a legacy for them, the first thing that comes to our mind is, what policy do I have in place? How will my wife and my kids survive after my demise? How will they eat? Will they have to go on the street? That is our first concern. When Salah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, when he was asked about his daughters after his demise and what arrangements, he said, Atakhsha ala banati al-faqr, do you fear for them poverty? I taught them Surah Waqiyah, and that will save them from that. This is the conviction that he had in the power of the surah and it bringing relief for the person who recites it. Nabi Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, at the time of his demise, he called his children together. He was speaking to Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, and he said, Am kuntum shuhada idh hadara Yaqub al-maut idh qala li banihi ma ta'buduna min ba'di. He said, what will you do after I leave this world? Who will you worship? And they were all trained well. They were nurtured by their own father. They said, Na'budu ilahak wa ilaha abaika Ibrahim wa Ismail wa Ishaq. So this is the legacy that he left behind. And if someone has passed on, look at the teachings that that person may have left behind, or the advices, practice upon that. That will be a means of reward for the person in the grave. That is the second point. The third point is to make it a habit of visiting the Qabristan. After the Battle of Badr, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam went to the place where the corpse of the kuffar were thrown, and that was in a well. And he went there and he stood in front of the well and he addressed those that were slain from the mushrikeen. And he said that, هَلْ وَجَدْتُمْ مَا وَعَدَ رَبُّكُمْ حَقًّا? Have you found what your Rabb has promised you to be truthful, to be a reality? فَإِنَّا قَدْ وَجَدْنَا مَا وَعَدَنَا رَبُّنَا حَقًّا. That we have found what Allah has promised us to be truthful, to be a reality. And upon this address, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu asked, "O Nabi of Allah, do the dead, you're addressing the dead, do they hear what you're saying?" And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, "Just as you can hear my speech today, in a similar manner, they can hear my speech at this moment. Only difference is that they cannot respond to the speech." It is narrated in a hadith, and Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah has this hadith, and he says that when a Muslim visits the grave of رَجُلٌ كَانَ يَعْرِفُهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا, someone who he knew in this world, and he goes by the grave, فَسَلَّمَ عَلَيْهِ, and he greets that person, like we've been taught, when you go to the Qabristan, Assalamu alaikum ya Ahl al-Qubur. When you greet the people, the dwellers of the grave, then it is stated in the hadith that رَدَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ رُوحَهُ فَيُسَلِّمُ عَلَيْهِ. Allah brings back the ruh of the deceased person, and that person then responds to the greeting. And in another narration it says that as long as you are sitting there by the grave, فَيَسْتَأْنِسُ بِصُحْبَتِهِ, that the deceased person gains comfort from your presence at the grave. The deceased person gains comfort from your presence at the grave. This is the ta'alluq that we have with those that have passed on. There's a narration of, which has been also narrated in Kitab al-Ruh of Uthman bin Sawad al-Ghafari. And he states that his mother was a very abstinent person with regards to this world. And when she passed away, he would go to the Qabristan every Friday. And he would make dua for a long period there. And later on, he's seen her in a dream. And he asked her, Kaifa anta? That how are you? How have you been treated? She said that I've been treated very well. Everything has gone very well for me. We are enjoying all the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken about in the Quran. And then he asked his mother, what is your need? Do you have any need at this time? What can I do for you? And he was one who would visit the Qabristan every Friday. She said to him that my only need to you, my son, is that continue visiting the Qabristan every Friday as you've been doing. This brings great happiness to me. This is a means of happiness for me and a means of happiness for all those around me. So make it a habit of visiting the Qabristan at least on a Friday or any other day of the week if it's possible. That is the third point. The fourth point is that we send Isal al-Sawab, to convey our actions as a reward for the marhumin. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has outlined the different actions. Someone came to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha says that a lady came and said, my mother passed away very suddenly. Uftulitat ummi. She didn't give any wasiyat. And adhunnu anna law takallamat. If she had to say something, she would have said, give charity on my behalf. So if I give charity on her behalf, will she get the reward? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes, certainly she will attain the reward. This is sending reward, doing an action with the intention of conveying the reward to the marhumin. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, amongst the best things that a person can do is that he makes water available to people. That is one of the greatest rewards that you can convey to your marhumin. And he also spoke in various other ahadith. He said, Mushafan tarakahu, the book of the Quran that you leave behind, or you make, that is money spent on from your wealth, or what you advise, that becomes a means of reward. Masjidan banaha, that a masjid that a person builds, or naharan ajraha, or baytan lil musafirin, or a home or a musafir khana, a place where the musafir can stay without any charge, or the services made available for them. All of this are means of thawabi jariyah for the marhumin. And this certainly benefits them. As a Shaykh Rahimahullah is mentioned in the Fazail Sadaqat, that a certain person saw a dream. And in this dream, he's seen people are in a Kabristan. And there was a certain dish, almost like a sweet dish, that was being given out. And everyone from the Kabristan was hastening, almost scrambling to get a share of this. And he saw that there was one person sitting by a tree far away. And he was unperturbed, unconcerned about what was taking place on the side. So he noticed this, what was happening. And then he went to the person and he asked him that, what is the reason that everyone is scrambling for to get a share of this and you unconcerned? So this person said to him in a dream that, go to a certain place and you will see my son over there and you will understand. So the next morning when he woke up, he went to a certain address that was given to him, and he found that there was a young man who was reading Quran. And after speaking to him, he realized that this man was reading 3 juz daily for his father. And because of that, the father was sitting very comfortably in the next realm, not having to follow what everyone else was doing in terms of trying to gain reward. Months later, the very person sees another dream. And at this point, he sees that while everyone is scrambling to get a share of that what is being distributed, the man who was previously sitting under the tree, he is also now amongst them. So he finds this very strange. Nevertheless, after waking up, he then thinks that, let me go investigate the matter. And when he comes to the very address where he had seen the young man, he sees that the shop has been closed, and after inquiry, it then turns out that the young man has passed away. There was no longer someone to send that thawab for the marhum. Now he has to also look for his reward or something that will benefit him amongst the greater masses that were all getting that share that was generally sent to them. This is the extent of benefit that the marhumin get from the reward that you send. And the ulama say that not only is it that you spend money, but even Mufti Rashid Ludhiani has mentioned in the Ahsan al-Fatawa that after your farz salah or any farz action, you make the intention that, Ya Allah, send the reward of this action to my marhum mother or father or anyone, and that reward will then be conveyed to them. And a secret that the ulama have stated, they say that our actions, we do not know whether it will be accepted or not. But when you bring the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam into the equation, then there is guaranteed acceptance. So when you are sending Isal Sawab, begin by saying, Ya Allah, convey the reward to our Master sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then to my mother and father. And in that way, inshallah, there is guarantee that your reward will be accepted by Allah. That is the 4th point, that we send our Isal Sawab and make it a habit on a daily basis. Whether it is the few rands that we give in charity, the amount doesn't matter. It is the intention that is behind it. Or it is the Quran that we recite, or after every salah, that very reward of that we convey for our parents. And the 5th point from which those who have passed on can benefit is the pious children that they leave behind. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has stated after mentioning the verse, وَأَلَّيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. For every person will only be what his efforts are, how he's exerted himself. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went on to explain, and he said that وَإِنَّ مِن سَعِي رَجُلٍ, that part of the effort of a person is his own progeny. And the best that he can eat is from that of his progeny. So the offspring become a direct means of the parents attaining reward in the akhirah. And you doing good deeds now, your parents will benefit from that. They will benefit from that, and that becomes a continuous means of reward for them. And it's for that reason that we need to make effort on nurturing, developing our children. That we leave behind children that are pious, that have a relationship with Allah, that they have Allah in their life, that they know their obligations and responsibilities to Allah, and they live a life that is pleasing to Allah, and that will become a means of reward for you in the akhirah. Continuous reward. And as a child, everything that you do, make the intention, and also just your doing it will be a means of reward for your parents. In conclusion, I'd like to mention an incident that has been stated in the book Ta'limul Muta'allimin, that once there was a person who died as a believer, but because of some of his misdeeds, he had to be punished in the grave. At the time of his departure from this world, his wife was still pregnant. He left this world, and because of his own actions, he was being dealt with in a particular manner. The baby was born, it was a boy, and the baby started to grow up. And as the years are going past, his condition remained the same as he's being cleansed for some of his misdeeds in this world. And then the day had come where this young boy is now sent to the Maktab Madrasa. And the day the boy takes the entry into the Maktab Madrasa, and the father's condition remains as it is in the Akhirah. And when the Ustad sits with the child, and the first words that the Ustad teaches the child is, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. And at that, the punishment of the father terminates. And the angels ask that, Ya Allah, what has now happened? Why is the punishment terminated? Allah responds by saying, how can I punish his father when his son has said that I am the compassionate one and the merciful one? That is how we benefit from our pious children and the good deeds that they continue to engage in. So my dear brothers, when a person leaves this world, it isn't at the janazah that we forget about that person. Our relationship continues to remain, and there are certain things that we ought to be doing, and we can continue to benefit them. As I've indicated, the first is to make dua for them. That's point number one. The second is to practice on their teachings, the advices that they've given you. The third point is to regularly visit the Qabristan. The fourth point is to send reward, Isalu Sawab. And the fifth point is the actions of the pious children. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to continuously benefit the marhumeen, and that we do such deeds that will benefit us after we've left this world. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.